Good evening, and welcome to the Sandwich School Committee meeting on September 11th, 2024. If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Also, members of the public may listen and watch the school committee meeting via live stream at www.sandwichtv.org and the Sandwich Community TV Education Channel 8. Before we move into public forum, I would like to start with remembrance, given this is the 23rd anniversary of 9/11.
On this day, as we remember all those lost on 9/11, it's appropriate and important that we take a moment to acknowledge the service and sacrifice of one of Sandwich owns. Captain Gerald DeCanto, U.S. Navy, was lost that day in service to his country in the attack on the Pentagon. Captain DeCanto graduated from Sandwich High School in 1975, where he was an outstanding soccer and basketball player. He was also active in the Boy Scouts. Upon graduation, he received an appointment to the United States Naval Academy. At Annapolis, Captain DeCanto played rugby and graduated with a bachelor degree in physics with the class of 1979. A career surface warfare officer, he served in the minesweeper USS Excel and the tank landing ship USS Fresno. He then attended Naval Postgraduate School in Monterey, California, receiving a master's degree in mechanical engineering. He went on to serve as the chief engineer in the Spruance destroyer USS Hewitt and the executive officer of the guided missile cruiser USS Lake Erie. After serving as the Assistant Operations Officer for Carrier Group 7, he attended the Naval War College, earning a master's degree in National Security and Strategic Studies. He then commanded the Aegis destroyer USS Simpson from 1998 to 2000. Following command, he served as the Chief of Staff for the Standing Naval Force Mediterranean. In August 2001, he was assigned as the Director of the Navy Command Center at the Pentagon. Although he was not on duty that day, upon the hearing of the terrorist attack upon the World Trade Center, he immediately proceeded to the NCC to direct the Navy response to the attack. 20 minutes before that attack, he unceremoniously directed multiple senior DoD and Navy personnel back to their offices so that his watch team could perform their duties. 10 minutes later, the Pentagon was attacked. Captain DeCanto and his entire watch team were killed. Unbeknownst to him, at the time of his death, he had just been screened for major command by the Navy on September 1st of that year. His decorations include the Purple Heart, the Legion of Merit, both posthumously, 3 Meritorious Service Medals, 2 Navy and Marine Corps Commendation Medals, 2 Navy and Marine Achievement Medals, the Navy Meritorious Unit Commendation, Armed Forces Expeditionary Medal, Sea Service Deployment Ribbon, and the National Defense Service Medal. Captain DeCanto was buried with full military honors at Arlington National Cemetery on November 2nd, 2001. I would now ask for a moment of silence in memory of Captain DeCanto and all those lost on September 11th.
Thank you, Kevin, for that mention of Mr. DeCanto and recognition of his service. I'd also like us to take a moment to keep in our thoughts and reflect upon the tragic loss in Widener, Georgia, and Appalachia High School, the 2 teachers and 2 students who were killed, those injured, the families, and the entire community. We as a nation also, I think, are reliving what has become a regular occasion. So if we could take a moment of silence. Thank you. So now we will move to our first public forum of the evening. Does anybody wish to be heard in public forum? I see no one, so we will move into our next item, which is a donation from Service Master South Shore, Inc. to the Sandwich Public Schools. And
Oh, sorry.
You have in your packet a donation from Service Master Inc. for the amount of, I believe it's
$12.50. $12.50.
$1,250 to be used for educational materials and supplies. Realize Service Master, usually around this time of year, has kind of a give back program to public school districts that utilize it. Service Master, which is in our community, has been a great partner to our facilities department, and we have used them, thank you, for various cleanup operations. Most recently, the joy that was the frozen pipe at Forestdale in early 2023.
Can I have a motion to accept this donation?
I move that we accept the donation of $1,250 from Service Master South Shore with appreciation.
Moved by Mr. Searle, second.
Second.
Second by Danielle. Any discussion? All in favor of accepting the donation, please raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, sorry.
Aye, so it is 7-0 unanimous. Next item is review and act on the meeting minutes of the business meeting dated August 28th, 2024. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I move that we approve the minutes of the regular business meeting dated 28 August 2024 as presented.
Motion made by Kevin. Can I have a second? Second by Bert. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 7-0 unanimous. Thank you. Correspondence and announcements. I have one thing, a copy of a letter to Miss Christine Carroll, school counselor, Sandwich High School, from the Nye Scholarship Trust, reappointing her to the Nye Scholarship Selection Committee for the town of Sandwich. Any other announcements or correspondence? I'm sure they can.
I have an announcement first, though. Thank you, Dave. And I'm doing this for the PTSA of Sandwich Middle High School. All of our stakeholders should have received an email last night, done by me during the debate, that said wicked important. A huge fundraiser that we do that is a huge boost by the PTSA that goes out for scholarships and a whole bunch of other great programs is the annual Sandwich Halloween celebration that's held at Heritage Gardens. So I sent out an email. We literally, what I'm told is the tickets go in hours. So tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., the link becomes live, and Sandwich Public Schools families have first dibs. I will tonight, late, send out another link once again, a reminder email, but starting at 8 a.m., we have first dibs on those tickets. I believe the event is going to be held October 26th and 27th during the evening. Is it 25th and 26th? Thank you, Christine, at Heritage Gardens. So get your tickets while you can.
I'm sure people will be poised with finger at key tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. Next item is a superintendent's update.
Okay, so I think today is day 7 of the school year. I'm really pleased to report we had a remarkably smooth opening at all 3 schools. I'm a big believer that pictures tell the story, and they say 1,000 words, so to speak. We're really appreciative also to our elementary PTA. If you had the opportunity on day 1, they graced these nice big balloon rainbow inflatables as arches for our kids and our staffs to walk through. Plus they had setups for photo ops for back to school. But things went really, really smoothly. As I always say, half seriously, half facetiously, everybody's on their best behavior, and I've never seen any more shinier, newer pairs of sneakers than I did on our first day on September 4th. So very, very exciting. Just a couple things to touch upon at all 3 schools. I know Jen Kirk, I believe it was last meeting, talked about the summer programming, and I think, a source of pride was about 60% of our kiddos enrolled in that Ride the Wave into Kindergarten program in August. So we intentionally wait a couple days at Forestdale, and we started on Thursday with our kindergartners. I had the opportunity to do my first set of walkthroughs with Chris on Thursday. I can't express how smooth kindergarten and just the rituals and the routines and the assimilation. I mean, my first question upon pulling up at the school at 9 o'clock, I said to Kara Schofield, how many boo-boo tears have we had so far? And surprisingly, very, very few. So there is real value in the program, and I think Chris and his staff deserve a lot of credit. I also want to point out, just the work, and I'm very, very pleased with just some of the efforts and having that second school resource officer in Officer Heather Huska has been tremendous just in this first week or so of school. She and Mark Peterson make a really, really nice team. I've had the opportunity to connect a couple times with our chief, Jason Keene. You might have seen on social media the chief and several members of the department, along with our two SROs, are kind of doing this High Five Friday thing. They started at our two elementary schools. I think they're going to kind of ease into the whole high-fiving high school kids thing. But I've had the opportunity also to have a couple different meetings with both Mark and Heather, and I'm very encouraged by the positive energy and incorporating themselves into the lives of our schools. You might have also caught.
If possible, as her schedule allows, it'd be great to have her maybe come to a future medding where
Absolutely.
we introduce herself and she can make herself known on Sandwich Community Television.
Yeah, and I put this in last week's Blue Night highlights. It is kind of inspirational that Heather, who's a member of the class of 2015, she very much views it's kind of like full circle, because realize when she was a student at Sandwich High School, she got very, very close with the then SRO, Krista Cabral. And really, Krista was the influence on her making the decision to become a police officer and the desire to be an SRO. So I'm still getting to know Heather, but I have a very, very positive impression as far as her passion for this position. Speaking of passion, we also have the incorporation of two new puppies. This is Blue and Sandy, the pride of Oak Ridge and the middle school at Sandwich Middle High School. They've also gotten some attention vis-a-vis social media, and the feedback initially has been also overwhelmingly positive. And then just a couple notes about the middle high school, that again, a very, very positive start. I know over the last 2 or 3 meetings, we've talked about the role of the new policy with regard to cell phones. I got word from Jeannie at the end of the day of our first day. We had all of 5 cell phones confiscated. We've averaged over the first week, correct me if I'm wrong, Jeannie, something about like 4 cell phones being confiscated. In thinking about a school community of 893 students, I don't think that's too shabby at all. And a lot of, and probably the deeper we get into the school year, we can do more of a deeper dive and kind of get staff impressions, student impressions, and so on. But some of those initial anecdotal impressions have been remarkably positive. Teachers saying, oh my God, my kids are actually engaging a little bit more. They're making more eye contact. They're speaking with each other more, and so on. And I think there's also been some actualization from our students as well, thinking like, yeah, maybe I am a little addicted to my phone. And it is something that causes a little anxiety. Also, we had the opportunity now about 2 weeks ago to do the fall sports night for student athletes and their parents. We're really pleased. The participation remains strong. We've got 363 students participating in fall sports. So that's going extremely well.
What was that number?
363. I just put this in the, I just put this in the packet, but our athletic director, Sean Donovan, has gotten all of those 363 students registered to be taking the online classes with regard to appropriate social media use, sportsmanship, and anti-bullying and hazing. So that has been pushed out to our student athletes, but also parents have been notified with the links to those 3 online classes. Sean, over the coming weeks, will also be tracking all of our student athletes' participation and completion of those courses.
Is there a deadline for that, and what's the consequence if it's not met?
So I think Sean and I had an excellent conversation yesterday. I think he is right now tracking the total amount of time in each self-paced course would be for all 3 hours. So he's going to track it very, very carefully. He's going to work with the coaches. I think at this point he doesn't have a hard deadline, but he's going to see how that comes in with the 363. I think ultimately there will be a deadline to it, but at this point in time, he doesn't have it. Okay?
I just had something. It's something the coaches could also think about if there was a rain day, and rather than delay or cancel a practice, have the kids stay after and participate in it.
I think
something like that.
In the conference, yeah, and I think it's very much going to be a common sense approach. I've spoken to Sean, and I think the mindset is, okay, now that we have this, let's use this period of time, or let's use this practice to go to the cafeteria, bring your Chromebook, let's work on this, let's discuss this, and so on.
Yeah. Now, would this be something for every season? If there's an athlete that plays 3 sports?
I think it would be for each academic year.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay.
But in something to think about as we go into the winter season. I can't believe I said winter. Sorry. But is that something he wants to put out to those athletes before the season starts? So either over
Correct.
Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever.
I think there was a
On
little bit of a
registration.
delay.
No.
The courses come from the National Federation of High School Athletics, and it was just getting us up and running and registered and all the student email addresses and names and so on. So with that said, as I do typically each year, I share kind of the initial look of where we are with respect to enrollment. So this represents our enrollment as of Monday. Keep in mind the official enrollment is always October 1st. That is what determines the size of our district, our state funding, and so on. At current, we've got 554 students at Forestdale, 672 at Oak Ridge, 893, as I said, at the middle high school, 31 out of district. So right now, we are at 2,150 students across our entire district. If you look at how does that actually change versus last October 1st official enrollment, we have 6 fewer students. So essentially, it's a very, very stable enrollment. The 6 fewer represents a 0.3% decrease. Again, our drop is in that gap between 8 and 9 at the middle high school, and you see, down 19 students, which on the flip side, up 12 students at Forestdale with a 2.2% increase. As we predicted, if you recall, going through the budget process and kind of looking at staffing and so on, the NESDEC projection for the kindergarten class coming in was very much on the money, pretty good size. So if you take a look, what are our average class sizes? This is just kind of a simple calculus in kind of looking how many sections do we have at each grade level. You kind of see that we're in that high teens to 20-ish, low 20 range. If there's one piece of data that is a mild outlier, it would be our grade 6 average class size, where Tricia's running classes of 22 and 23 with that class.
Is there, I know I've asked this in the past, is there a target number that we should be looking for grade 6? I know obviously kindergartens, you want to have a little less kids than you have in grade 6, but
Yeah.
it's a little higher than we normally have, but is that considered high, I guess is my question.
In my humble opinion, that's not considered high. If I could see that a little bit closer to the 20 range, I'd be happier. I'm not terribly stressed about 22.6. If it was more in the 25-ish kind of range, I might say, hey, we've got to keep an eye on that. I think the piece which sometimes can be challenging because of the migration in and out, not that we've got a huge amount, is you generally want, your early elementary, your K through 2 to be some of your smaller grades, and then progressively work 3 through 6, and then also, once you get to the middle school, that also, I think that's very, very comfortable right now as far as your average class sizes. Bert.
Thank you. My concern is at the high school, where you've lost 19 kids. And I realize you lost more than that, because some of them went to Sturgis, some of them went to the vocational school. But I'm concerned with the loss of 19 kids. Do you know why? What have you done related to finding out why these kids are leaving, other than the kids that are going to schools like Sturgis, and why are they leaving?
So it's my intent, and it's actually part of the district action plans, Bert, to kind of do kind of a comprehensive look at the reasons definitively students left. I think it's a mosaic of reasons. It's not just one thing, it's multiple things. The biggest draw away from Sandwich Middle High School by far, at least over the last couple of years, has been Upper Cape Tech. Some of those students and some of those families will tell you, I want this type of career voc tech educational experience and so on.
19 more. They would have had you would have had kids leave last year that went to Upper Cape. You had 19 more leave this year. So there's a reason.
No. See, you're talking about a net loss of 19 students. Right. Okay. So you've got a big gap of, I think I put in the background notes, you lost about 27% of your class in the matriculation from 8th to 9th grade. Okay, as I also note in the background notes, that actually, and trust me, I'm not doing cartwheels over that, but that's a slight improvement of where it had been over the previous 3 years, where you were losing about 34% of
Right, the percentage loss is less, but you're still,
It's still significant.
okay.
It's still significant, and I think it comes down to a whole multitude of reasons, and I think we've got to focus on the reasons that we can control, okay? Specifically, school culture, school climate, ensuring that every single kid has a niche and has a strong sense of belonging to that school community, okay? You still have, again, your two big draws are Upper Cape Tech and Sturgis. And the data, which I, before this meeting, put in the background notes as far as the breakdown of who went where and so on, the numbers are what the numbers are. But I think we've got to control the things that we can control at that middle high school to take that 27% and progressively make that smaller, that number smaller. It's
You're working on and controlling what you can control.
Yeah, is it ever going to be zero and 100% of kids matriculate to the 9th grade at the middle high school? Absolutely not.
But I would hope for not a loss. In other words, you lost what? How many did you lose total from 8 to 9, or 7 to 8?
You mean 8 to 9?
8 to 9.
8 to 9. Thank you.
The total loss 8 to 9 was 65. 65 students.
So you're going to lose. You're going to lose a fair amount. I understand that. It's because of the attractions of those other schools.
I apologize. It was 52 students. 52.
Okay. It's the 19 or almost 20 that I'm concerned about. Is it a school climate issue? Is it? I don't think it's. From what I've seen at the high school, it doesn't seem like it's a quality of education issue.
I think it's not that at all. However, and again, I feel like we have some good data from a survey perspective. Doing that focus group, the exit interview, is a little more elusive, but that gives you richer data. But again, you have some families that responded to the survey that just said, I really want my kid to be an electrician. You had some families that say, well, I'm really excited about IB, and my kid got into the lottery at Sturgis. You also had some parents that said, you know what? My kid's been with the same cohort of kids for now 9 school years. I'm not wild about this particular chemistry. I'm going to see what other options are out there.
But you have no control over that.
I don't. Well, yes and no, in the sense that if you're doing a remarkable job, and again, fostering that sense of belonging, that helps ameliorate some of those effects.
Well, I've talked to a number of parents of kids that went to the high school. I can't think of one that wasn't pleased at the high school, and and I've talked to kids because we have now kids working in the supermarkets in the local area, and I've talk to kids, and their feeling is also that they like going to Sandwich High School.
Mm-hmm. It's a very
And our
complex issue.
outreach, our community outreach, and those focus groups will be another vehicle to derive information, at least from the current parents and those that have left that would come to those groups. And maybe that's a group we want to target and invite to come to some of our focus groups.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good.
And then also, I believe,
Galabai question.
I'm sorry.
Grade 6, did that, I see it's 22.6. I don't remember anything being in the 20s last year, maybe it was. They have 9
smaller.
Did they have 9 sections last year, or were they 8 sections last year for that?
I believe it was 9 sections last year, and in deploying staff and what made the most sense, I had an in-depth conversation with Principal Hill about it. The choice was made to deploy staff instead of as a classroom teacher as the science support person. So we have a science instructional coach. So that individual, instead of going to an additional section for 6th grade, is now providing that science instructional coaching position.
Okay, thank you.
And also supporting science labs as well.
Doctor, the grade 10, 112, I don't remember has that been consistent for that cohort over time?
It has, and that represented a smaller grade 8 going into grade 9, but then 34% matriculating for other options. So again, I think I put the background. So that was a smaller 8th grade class, but last year's 8th grade class was 191, and now we have a freshman class of 139. So
That could be the smallest graduation class in the modern era. Which high school?
that
Could be.
is
Part of its
absolutely true.
demographics and other factors that we can't control.
Sure. And then just also our current choice data, the distributions are dissimilar, but the bottom line is we still have approximately, exactly right now, 135 students choicing into our district. Keep in mind, a lot of times when the financial report is given, we talk about allocating choice funds. Sandwich is fortunate, and I think it's reflective of the quality of education that we provide, by well over a 2-to-1 ratio, we have students choicing in versus choicing out.
And you only get $5,000 apiece from,
Correct.
so they cost you more than, in some sense.
Well, that's why you've got to be very judicious about how many you let in per grade level, per school, for the simple reason that you can't run a whole section, and make decisions about classes, having an unlimited number of choice students. For example, where we get the biggest requests, always kindergarten. We had very, very few. You could see one choice student. At present time, I believe we have 23 students on the wait list for Forestdale Kindergarten. It wouldn't be, from a financial standpoint, responsible to open up another section just with choice students.
You're never going to get the revenue to pay for them.
Yeah, and you own them till graduation as well.
Well, every year it's, unless that $5,000 rate has changed, so every year you own them.
Correct.
Okay.
So there is a sweet spot, so to speak. And that's,
Michelle, quick question. Is that 5,000 been around, is that the same number for the last X number?
Since I've been here in 2009, been $5,000.
Not exactly adjusted for inflation. Thanks.
Although we do get reimbursed dollar for dollar for any special ed expenditure. So,
has not changed since 2007.
Awesome. Okay.
And now I believe Michelle has the budget update.
right. You have the July report in front of you. July report doesn't really show much except putting all the salaries in place, which we are at a negative in the report, and that's an overall effect of the negotiations that we went through. A couple of other areas that I'd like to point out is that there's a large negative in the special ed tuitions code, and that's because circuit breaker comes in quarterly, and we move expenditure to the circuit breaker account, and since nothing's been expensed yet, I can't do a journal entry. So I can't move the POs to the revolving account, only expenditure. Some other
So
areas.
that's more of an accounting issue than an unexpected cost?
Yeah,
Just to
because you
clarify?
see in the revolving accounts, that Circuit Breaker has like 733,000. About 400 of it will get moved once I have expenditures, and then we do it on a quarterly, depending on how much Circuit Breaker we get every year.
Okay.
And this year, we're due to get about $1 million. So that's what we'll use up. And that's the difference between the budget and the purchase orders at the moment.
Got it, thanks.
Okay?
Maybe this is easily explained.
Yep.
For example, at Oak Ridge, you're down $57,000 on educational support staff. Is that due to a contract negotiation, or did you hire somebody, or?
Contract negotiations and 2 new ESPs were hired because 2 children just moved into the district and they have one-on-one ESPs.
So that you had no choice?
Right.
And that's,
We're mandated.
and I'm assuming a number of these are probably similar to that. You really didn't,
Absolutely.
you really didn't have much choice.
Right.
Michelle, I just had a quick question. I was just looking under the top page summary of the salaries where it says wing school / admin office of $30,000.
Yep.
Is it supposed to still say the wing school? Or are we supposed to remove
No,
that?
I can take that off. And
Okay.
now it's just going to
Please.
say the admin.
Please, that would be good.
All right, I'll take it off if it's haunting people.
Well, it would be haunting since the building's
I know. I was thinking
They're
the
in the
same.
rubble
Things
somewhere.
now gone.
And I just had a question. How many new special ed transportation vans have we received? I definitely saw one this year.
We received 2 over the summer, and we have another one on order at the moment.
Good. So how is our fleet looking? Is it?
It's better than
improving.
it has been, but there's still a lot of room for improvement.
Okay.
We still have quite a number of vans with 200,000 miles and over,
Okay.
but they're dwindling.
Okay. Yeah, it seems like it.
Tammy Gibbs is starting to find some vans, not so much the Econoline vans, but more like a minivan.
Minivan types.
Which are just as useful, and, they're cheaper and they're more readily available.
Yeah.
The other ones, they keep sending them to Amazon, so we never get a chance to
Never
find
get
it.
to- Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Not tonight.
Okay.
Are we doing the approval of the district improvement plans, or do I have a wrong?
Just, I believe, Sue, there's one item under old business, just kind of the update. Again, just as a status update, I'm kind of finalizing getting 3 different proposals from 3 different outside facilitators to do the community outreach piece, but also to facilitate a new strategic plan. It involves somebody who has some expertise and kind of expertise in kind of knowing what's out there, what is, what would be helpful to a core strategic planning team as far as kind of a vision around 21st century learning and so on. I did put in the background notes, and it's based upon the Google Doc that was shared as far as just tentatively the focus groups that we're looking to pull in. And again, this will be part of the early part of the process this fall, would be doing a focus group around families, internally with staff, definitely with students, with our public safety partners, community members who do not have students in our schools, elected officials, including our select board and our finance committee, coaches internally, but also coaches that work in the various town rec leagues and programming officials, some of our nonprofit organization folks, such as Sandwich for All, Sandwich Cares, and also the Partnership for Families, and then also various members of our Chamber of Commerce representing our local businesses. So I should have more specifics, including a timeline, once we do select a facilitator. Okay?
Just, maybe I have the wrong version of the agenda. Are we going to talk about approval of district and school improvement plans?
Yeah, that's under new business.
Okay,
I believe old business was right before that.
I must have the wrong version then.
Here you go.
Sorry about that. Okay. All right, so any topics not reasonably anticipated by the chair? I have none. Anybody have anything? Okay, moving into new business. Where is it? Presentation of the district action plans for 2024-25.
Okay, you do have in your packet a draft copy of our district action plans for this school year. Again, like what was presented last year, they're based upon our existing strategic plan, and that existing strategic plan is crafted around 5 overarching goals, which are known as strategic objectives. And those 5 are around the development of a district-wide portrait of a graduate, or 6 essential competencies that we expect all kids to know and be able to do upon graduating. What are we doing to improve teaching and learning across the district? The third objective, which I refer to as the perpetual objective, how do we improve communicating with each other and with our families? Fourth, what are we doing with respect to cultivating a positive culture and student well-being? And then the fifth, what are we doing with regard to improving financial oversight, but also a commitment to improving our facilities and infrastructure? So the structure of the existing strategic plan is each strategic objective is supported by specific initiatives, so that in that 5-year span, the objective can be reached. So again, I know I showed you this slide last year, but again, it's really about alignment of goals that, you know, we ask all of our educators to craft goals as part of their evaluation process. I think as a district, we should be putting out a mission and a vision of what we want to achieve, and on an annual basis, get granular, get specific about what we're going to do, and allow schools to build off of that. So I will give a concise presentation of what is in here, and then keep in mind next week, in 2 weeks during our next meeting, I've asked our 3 principals to present their individual school improvement plans for this year as well. So last year we had a total of 7 focus areas. We've kind of pared it down. Probably 7 might have been a little too much and a little overly ambitious of what is involved in this year's district action plan. So the 5 focal areas are: 1, engage learning, and specifically we're talking about the work that's happening at the elementary levels with regard to our core literacy and numeracy programs, specifically ARC Core, iReady, and Reveal Math, but also some of the work that's being done at the secondary level to promote higher order thinking, more engaged learning, things like the Innovation Career Pathway program. 2, inclusive practices is really about our commitment to inclusion, and specifically the co-teaching model, and doing more to ensure it's serving all students, but particularly those with mild to moderate disabilities. The model that this district has chosen several years ago, we continue to use effective co-teaching practices, but also inclusion meaning the cultural piece, the work that we've talked about that's so critical as far as initiatives like Schools Where We Belong or the Playbook Initiative, to ensure that we're training a generation of kids to be upstanders, and that when they see harassment or bullying occurring, they're equipped with the tools to address it. 3 is interesting, and we're defining it as optimal learning environment because it's encompassing of what is the type of spaces, physical spaces, that are conducive to learning and 21st century learning, but also first and foremost, safety and the ongoing work that we've done with the district safety team and also ensuring with all of our staff that our kids and our staff members remain safe. 4 is about communication and customer service. What are we doing to ensure that we're effectively communicating and getting appropriate feedback from all of our stakeholders? And then 5, very generically, is about sustainability. What are we doing to ensure that we have an operational budget that effectively meets the needs of our kids, but also the ongoing work to address our many capital needs, facilities, and so on, as we've spent a lot of time talking about here at this table. So I'll go through each of these. This is not all inclusive of the 15 or so pages that have the various actions, but for the first focus area, engage learning. Again, continued implementation of the ARC Core, Ready Math, and Reveal Math programs in grades K through 8. This represents the 3rd year of implementation. It was intentionally done in a tiered manner. So with that, you've got some folks that are, some teachers that of different grade levels that this is the first time that they're implementing that. So with that is professional development and coaching and so on that goes for successful implementation. These programs have what are known as personal learning platforms. In the case of ARC, it's MyPath. In the Reveal Math, it's Alex. It's basically the online component that helps pace students, but also is kind of the home practice for students. Something that Dr. Quinn has been very passionate about, and we've had a lot of work, and I know when he talked about the summer PD, but ongoing professional development with regard to deeper learning and getting teachers to kind of rethink their lessons. We allude to something known as the 4 shift protocols. So again, students are more engaged and kind of have more of that hands-on element. We did, I believe last June, have the first annual Deeper Learning Expo. I think these 3 students are 3 5th grade students that kind of presented their research and their project, their extended unit in Christine Skirvin's 5th grade class on developing a pollinator garden for Oak Ridge. So highlighting projects like that that are happening across the district. And then we've started this year in earnest with a computer science innovation career pathway. There's also plans to expand that to have 2 additional pathways as opportunities for our high school students, one being in business and finance, and the other one being in either life sciences or green energy, not GREN energy. And then also, Dave has also done some remarkable work in creating partnerships with organizations like Mass Hire and more recently the Massachusetts Work-Based Learning Alliance as kind of connections to help create quality internships come senior year for our students that'll be in these innovation career pathways.
Can I ask a question about the pathways?
Sure.
I don't know if Dr. Quinn needs to come up. Like, we're starting the computer science one this year, correct?
Correct.
Is that something that, when does a student kind of, do they enroll in it? Do they kind of, how does that mechanically work, so to speak?
Yeah, so the pathways are designed to be flexible to allow students to come in and out. Hopefully, once they come in, they stay in, but we understand that life circumstances sometimes change that. So the first kind of cohort that will be coming in will be submitting an application at the end of this school year. So typically looking at your 9th and 10th graders. And that's under developed as part of the Pathways Implementation Team, which just met this week.
So they'll be applying at the end of this spring.
That's correct.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
So the second focus area is inclusive practices. Like I said, and it is continued professional development for both classroom teachers and our special educators on effective co-teaching practices. I think the reality is, in particular for those of us who've worked in schools, just because you're putting together 2 teachers in a classroom, or you're putting a teacher and an ESP in a classroom, doesn't necessarily, it all comes together magically and they're completely collaborating and working together as a high-functioning team to deliver instruction. So a lot of work is being done internally to ensure that they are effective co-teaching teams. Part of what goes that is consistent observations and walkthroughs to monitor not only co-teaching, but specially designed instruction. I could do a full presentation on some of the work that we've done as a district leadership team as far as looking at our students that have IEPs, and specifically the math instruction that they receive, and the degree of specially designed instruction as defined in their IEPs, how well that's being delivered and how clear those expectations are going to be. So a considerable amount of work is just kind of the monitoring and kind of staying on top of that. Part of this too, and this very much came from Dr. Quinn, is giving our teachers the opportunity to observe what's happening in different classrooms or what's happening in different jobs or at different grade levels. I think unfortunately sometimes teaching is a very isolating profession, and we're kind of in our bubbles, and even within the same school, we don't have the perspective of what's happening in a different grade level or in a different content area and so on. So through a tool known as instructional rounds, we'll be looking to address some of that. As I said before, and kind of talking about a priority, we have 2 programs, one of which is grant funded that Dr. Quinn has talked about, Schools Where We Belong, which is a program of facing history and facing ourselves, which has begun in earnest at the middle high school, but also the Playbook Initiative. We had the opportunity at our last meeting in June to meet Shreya, who is our new school committee rep, but she's also very much a student leader, and she's actually the student director of the Playbook Initiative at the middle high school. To say that this kid has passion with regard to this project would be the understatement of the year, and I'm sure here at the table she will be more than happy to share the work that's being done to get the Playbook Initiative up and running, not only at the middle high school, but also with grade 5 and 6 students at Oak Ridge as well. And then, as we talked about before, we will do a full review and revision of our district's bullying prevention and intervention plan. We need to do that. It's the right thing to do, but as we've also talked about, kind of making our policies a lot more clear, concise, and user-friendly in all of our schools' student family handbooks. The third, again, speaks to the issue of optimal learning environment. Again, further work with our district safety team, kind of looking at our drills. I've had the opportunity to meet with both of our chiefs about a couple weeks ago and talking about kind of taking the whole piece around evacuation and reunification to the next level and do some of that drill planning. Again, as I said in talking about the opening of school, I really look forward to increased communication and delivery of some of our services with the Sandwich Police Department, working with some of outside agencies. You know, we, myself and Jeannie had a meeting with the Children's Cove, along with some representatives from the police department. So I think places where we can collaborate, but also get additional training for our teachers and so on. We've had, I've heard from a couple parents, and it's kind of interesting that you started with that memory piece, Sue, around the tragedy of what happened in Georgia, literally on our second day of school. I think we are, as part of our district safety team and that work, kind of looking at some other emergent technologies that integrate with our existing systems as far as things like panic buttons and so on. And I know Bryce Harper is very much on top of that. Speaking of Bryce, also included in this is cybersecurity remains a real concern, and ensuring that our staff are hip to various threats that are out there, and ensuring that we have appropriate measures in place so that we don't have an unfortunate situation that could conceivably shut down operations for us. And then, as I said before, developing a kind of an internal committee to kind of look at what is out there. As you know, as I shared during the last meeting, looking at some of the student furniture right now at Oak Ridge that we're piloting. You know, I'm a big believer that function follows form. And, you know, what kind of furniture, what kind of spaces serve our kids well as far as looking at the outcomes that we want. Our fourth focal area, again, communication and customer service. Really a key action here is looking to have the organization and implementation of a process that pulls in all different stakeholders and viewpoints to develop a new multi-year district strategic plan. As we talked about, doing those focus groups for community outreach, doing surveys of our parents at the middle high school and at Oak Ridge, the Panorama Education School Climate Survey, but also kind of some quick hit texting feedback type polls. We started last fall the Family and Community Advisory Committee. We will start that up again, but also they are very determined to continue on with school beautification efforts. And then as we were talking about before, kind of doing a study analysis, but also public report here at the school committee level of students and families opting for other educational opportunities. What are some of the insights that we're getting directly from that feedback, from talking to families and surveying them? Then last but not least, the sustainability focal area. And I think this is something that we talked about the last meeting, but just completing the identified FY25 capital projects and publicizing them. You know, and again, I've had the opportunity to hear from several members of the Finance Committee. They were extremely appreciative that, you know, we talked about this publicly, what we've accomplished. We will continue to do that. Thank you, Taylor, for your piece in the enterprise, but again, making things very concrete. In that same vein, completing and publicizing the remaining spring 22 debt exclusion projects, and what we still have out there is the Forestdale and Oak Ridge HVAC systems, which will go out to bid hopefully by the end of this month, if not early October, and then also the boilers at the schools. Again, advocating and procuring capital funding starting earlier than we typically do in December with the town's tri-boards process, and again, in very, very clear terms, particularly through our 10-year capital plan, spelling out this is exactly what we need with regard to facilities and infrastructure. And then again, as we did in the FY25 budget, finding efficiencies, but also reinvesting them into some targeted pieces like we did this year with the $200,000 for new flooring. So that very, very quickly and concisely is what we have for the 5 focus areas for this year's district action plans. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you
Comments
have.
for the superintendent?
Left everybody speechless.
No, I just appreciate all of the hard work and effort that's going into this. Yeah, it looks great.
This might be for a future meeting, but in view of yet another school-based tragedy, it might be helpful to the committee and to the public to kind of hear what our support, social emotional support resources are, and also how we manage potential threat, and how we identify, for lack of a better term, troubled students, and are proactive in terms of resources in all of, just about every case that we've read about or heard about.
Yeah.
These situations are not they are not unknown to the people closest to the students. And so to reassure our community and our parents that within what is possible, what steps we've taken as a district, and what
Absolutely.
resources do we have in place.
Following this tragedy, I've heard from 2 parents personally, and one thing that, in one of the parents, my response is, we can talk about drill planning, we can talk about technology, but nothing is a substitute for knowing your kids and knowing them well. I have an extremely high level of confidence that in our school settings, our teachers, our support staff, our mental health professionals know our kids well. And when there is a concern regarding challenging behavior, any potential threat of violence and so on, it is dealt with in a extremely proactive, extremely child-centered, but also family-centered and sensitive manner.
Thank you. Anything else? Are we prepared to have a motion to approve the district action plan for 2024-25?
I move to we approve the district action plan as presented for 2024-2025.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Danielle. Motion made by Kevin. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 7-0, unanimous. Thank you very much, and look forward to hearing the updates in terms of how the plan is going forward. Next time, this is an exciting topic. Upcoming NEASC accreditation visit, Ms. Nelson, principal of Sandwich Middle High School.
Accreditation's exciting.
I think so.
So we have NEASC coming for the decennial visit October 6th. They arrive. We're hosting a team of 8 educators that represent various positions in schools across New England. and they are coming October 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. And what they're going to do is tour our schools, spend the days with us at school, visiting classrooms, meeting with various committees and stakeholders, students and teachers. They're going to go into classrooms, they're going to collect evidence, they're going to want to speak to you as well. And they're coming in a very supportive way. So NEASC wants to support and foster school improvement, and they're really coming from a place of trust. So we're excited for the visit, and I feel like we're in a really good position. So they were here in 2022 for the collaborative conference, and they identified 4 priority areas. So our job since 2022 has been to focus on those 4 priority areas and really take some action steps to address them. So the first one was to actionize the portrait of a graduate competencies. So in 2022, we were at the beginning stages of introducing the portrait of a graduate. And so what we've tried to do is to promote the portrait of a graduate competencies in ways that teachers but also students understand. And ways we've done that have been through incorporating the competencies on school rubrics, on assignments and projects. The competencies are collaboration, communication, adaptability, learning, and what's the last one? Critical thinking. So, so by having those like visible and talking about them with students, then they understand what they are and they can visualize them and they can perform them. We've also infused them in all of our awards, and we did that last year at our senior award night, our underclassmen award night, our middle school awards. So we're actually tying the competency to something very, very specific that we can tell the students what this is. Hey, this reflects this competency, and we're really proud of you for that. So we've also have posters in the classrooms and really kind of made it, we've made it a priority. So, so I think they're going to be pleased with the improvement with that area. The second priority was to complete curriculum maps for all courses in all departments. So there were some really significant vacancies in our curriculum maps when they came in 2022. So what we've done is through the Wednesday PD time and department time, we've given teachers and departments time to align the curriculum in a very consistent way. So we are using the exact same template for all departments, so there's consistency on what it looks like, what the map looks like, sequencing, learning objectives, assessments. The design is the same, which makes it really great. So when you go into a school as a new educator, the first thing you want to see is the curriculum. And so to have that and to have it so clear and seamless and aligned not only helps the department see the students that are coming up and where they are and the standards that they've learned and what's been addressed, but also it helps us instructionally as well to be more consistent for the student experience. Priority area 3 was collaboration time. So this actually was a huge lift that we worked all last spring with a PowerSchool consultant to essentially break down the master schedule and start over. And so what we did is we did the master schedule over based on this priority area. So what that means is we didn't just roll over the schedule. We looked at student wants and needs and designed the schedule around how it's best going to serve students. And that was also for service delivery included in that. So how can students receive the services they need without dramatically impacting their access to electives and core classes. And so we now have equitable class sizes. We have students who are able to access the programming they want. And we also, the great bonus is that we have common planning time for teachers in the middle school, which is great for team, interdisciplinary work, even simple things like Spirit Week, and teachers can talk about students of concern or fun things. So that's new for us, and so I think that, again, that's like a really visible piece of evidence that they're going to be able to say that we address that priority area. So priority area 4 was we had to do a self-assessment, and we identified the former 3 areas. Priority 4 was a NEASC recommended priority area that we had not identified on our own. So it's really comprehensive, and I think it does. I think it includes so many different pieces of areas that we needed to address. Simple things that just got resolved with the teacher contract. Feedback to parents, consistent, regular feedback to students as well, whether that's through PowerSchool or conferencing or emails or just, offering extra help and things like that. I think that was an area where we needed to pay attention to, and we did with the teacher contract. We also, through the contract negotiations, we also have now added some time after school for teachers to be available for students to offer extra help. So if you read what they're saying there, it's really communication, staff communication to students and parents, consistent feedback, opportunities to work with students where they are, and addressing their social and emotional needs as well as their academic progress. The process for NEASC visit, they'll arrive on Sunday night, October 6th. The first group they want to meet is you. And so hopefully you'll be able to attend that meeting. And our team chairperson was actually a member of our collaborative conference. So she knows us. She's been to our school before. She's now the team chair for the visit, but she was part of the collaborative conference. So her name is Laurie Greenwood. She's coming with 7 other members, and they will, again, give me a very specific list of people they want to meet, and then we'll create a schedule for them.
So I think, again, as I say in the background notes, this represents a lot of work for the high school staff. I think they've done an exemplary job. This is really peer review. These are 8 people who are educators across the New England states. They come in. Again, they're doing it in a supportive fashion. It's not the gotcha game. Again, this is something that occurs every 10 years. It's very, very important because it is our accreditation visit through the New England Association of Schools and Colleges. Maintaining that accreditation is extremely important. Just, again, it is an external validation of the quality of educational programming within our community, but also it has a pragmatic aspect. Think about if you, say, have a child going through the college application process. Having an accredited high school is extremely important toward that whole process. Colleges and universities do know the high schools that are out there that are not accredited. So it's extremely important. I anticipate that the middle high school will do extremely well based upon the quality of work and what happens in the school every day. And if you can be present on that Sunday evening at 5 p.m., that would be extremely helpful.
Bert.
Having been on both sides of these, vocational side, and I know some of the things that they like because I haven't been on that side. When they come in the morning, how are they going to be? You have like a little bit of a breakfast for them?
Yeah, so there's definitely elements of hosting that we certainly will take care of. We work with the Abbey group at school who does great food for our kids and also does catering. So he'll provide breakfast. So they do want to arrive when the students arrive. So we'll provide breakfast, we'll provide lunch, and we will provide dinner off campus. But yes.
When you have generally they're there fairly late. Are they going to, when you have a dinner off campus, will you be with them?
I do not think so, no, because they write the reports after they leave the school, yeah.
Okay.
We should, excuse me, Bert, we should mention that these are not paid individuals. They do this as their own
Volunteers,
prof-
yes.
Well, in a sense, they are, some of them are paid because they're paid from their school district that they, because I know I was paid from my school district that I came from.
Okay.
So, so what they usually do is, she's from the Georgetown Public Schools, so it'll be a professional day off for her and probably some of the other members. Do you know where the other members are coming from? You don't have they don't give you a list of that. You mentioned one thing, and I'm kind of curious if you can define it. What are equitable class sizes?
Equitable class sizes would be that if there are 2 English classes, grade 9 English classes, and one teacher has 9 students and one teacher has 22 students, that would be inequitable.
Okay, I understand that, but across the entire school, how do the class sizes vary? Because I know when I visited, it was last year, there were 7 kids in one class, and then and many other classes had more, all the other classes had more. Do you
Right.
have any small classes like that?
So the great brilliant thing that happened with the redesign of the master schedule was that we addressed that issue. So our classes now are what Dr. Maruschek projected. We have really nice sized classes that every educator has very similar sized classes, yes.
Thank you.
Questions, comments?
On the 9th, is that, do they do a verbal outbrief, or do you just get a written report later?
They will, I've been on visits as well. Typically what they'll do is they'll ask for the staff to meet in the auditorium. They will present some preliminary findings, just verbally, no questions, no answers. They present that, and then they leave. And then within 10 days, we'll receive a draft of their report.
Do you want to expand on that? The committee, the visiting committee doesn't have the final word, how the process
Goes
goes.
to the commission for final review. They present the report. The committee, the visiting team will present the report, which then goes to the NEAS commission for approval for accreditation.
That's correct.
You'll probably have had your fill, but we do have a school committee meeting that night. I just happened to check the calendar, so we'll look forward to the update.
Sure,
tonight.
yeah. They'll be out of here by 3 o'clock at the latest.
That's good to know.
Excellent presentation, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Other topics not reasonably anticipated by the chair, I have none. Anybody else? Next, we'll have subcommittee reports and a report of the Finance Committee. Mr. Sorrell.
Yes, good evening. So the Finance Subcommittee met just prior to this meeting. One of the things we are doing is doing a comprehensive review of all the fee schedules of what we charge various entities for use of school facilities. There are 3 tiers. One are basically school-affiliated entities, like the PTA doesn't pay to meet in the building. There's 100% community-based nonprofits, like some of our youth sports leagues, and then there's Tier 3, which are essentially, might be outside entities, it might be a for-profit anything. These have not been updated since 2015. They are, so let's just say they're a little outdated. We did not approve anything tonight. We don't have anything formal to present to the full committee. We did ask they did have a proposed new fee schedule, but some data points we want to look at is, one, believe it or not, school staff we're still trying to extract ourselves or figure out what the way forward is on the wing school, not the building itself, but the grounds, and how we manage that with the town, because they're not our grounds anymore. Also, we need to figure out if we do change some things, how does that impact our local youth leagues? The general mindset we have is that for those nonprofits, like the youth sports leagues, the Sandwich Public Schools should not be making a buck or losing a buck, if you will. We should not be incurring a cost to support those leagues. Likewise, the school should not be making $1 off of that. It's kind of, the target should be to break even on our overhead costs and labor costs if a janitor is involved, things like that. So more work to be done there, and we'll be meeting again once staff's done a little more home. We had some questions for him, but eventually our intent is to bring forward to the full committee for approval and what would be an annual process, a fee schedule. Bring forward a fee schedule for approval and then do that on an annual basis.
So more
Questions?
to come.
Okay, thanks.
Liaison and Advisory Committee reports. Danielle?
Just a quick announcement for the Special Ed Parent Advisory Council. The first meeting of the year is going to be Tuesday, September 24th at 6:30, and they're still determining if it's going to be in person at the Oak Ridge Library or virtual. So I'm sure there'll be communication sent out over the next few weeks. Thanks.
Thank you. And warrants. Can I have a motion to approve the warrant?
Can you turn your mic on, please?
You got it. Connected with the warrants, can you put, Dr. Maruschek, can you put the pictures up? Okay. I just want to talk about that for a minute.
Sure.
Okay. I went down to the central office, and poor Lindsay had to deal with me and explain everything. And these are the pictures of everything that's included in this last 2-week warrant. And the picture is a little misleading because it looks like the piles are just like a quarter of an inch long, or a quarter of an inch deep, but they're very deep. And I had a very thorough explanation. Lindsay, who's in what's her last name? Foster. She was great, absolutely great. I was there from 9 to about 12, and I'm going to say in the future now, in Lindsay I trust, because she seems like an excellent gatekeeper of all the purchase orders, the bills, the follow-ups, and everything that she does. So I'm glad I spent the 3 hours there, but I'm not going to do it every 2 weeks. But
But I think if I may, it's a great snapshot in seeing the scrupulosity that she applies towards this process, and realize that happens every single day. So what you witnessed and what you're about to vote upon in the next few minutes happens through every 2-week cycle.
and she had everything lined up perfectly. I may not have the order correct, but purchase orders, bills, and signatures. The only thing that has been changed during our summer workshop, was it Jim Hardy was the presenter? Jim Hardy mentioned that we should have 2 signatures on every purchase order, and prior to that, we did not. And so as I went through the purchase orders, she implemented, or was implemented, after August 4th, having 2 signatures. So for example, a principal and your signature, which is basically stamped on most of the time, which is reasonable. I mean, you have a life you have to lead a school, a school district. So she had everything lined up. So everything was in. If you look at that, it's in groups. It's just a lot thicker than it actually looked. So I just want to really show the appreciation for the amount of time the business office, which is very professional, and particularly Lindsay. So I will check with her every so often when I sign on the warrants, and approve the warrants. But she is an absolutely excellent gatekeeper. I can't say it enough, and I've said it too much already. So thank you, Sue.
Thank you, Bert, and that I'm glad that you trust and verify. That's very important, but that is a key role of our fiduciary responsibility as members of this committee.
Second.
We have a motion made by Bert Fisher, seconded by Kevin. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous, 7-0. Okay. The next public forum, does anybody wish to be heard at public forum? Seeing no, we will move on to future agenda items. I think we have future agenda items based on our annual calendar, but if you have others, send them the superintendent's way. Acknowledgements and closing remarks. Kevin?
Just quick, and I don't know if Ms. Nelson wants to come back up. I meant to mention to you before you snuck away from the chair, but tomorrow night, it should say this announcement, is the Sandwich High School open house. I don't know if there's anything you want to
Yeah,
add.
and so it's over the next 3 weeks, over the next 3 Thursdays. Tomorrow, like Kevin just said, is the middle high school. The following week is Forestdale on the 19th. And then the week after that is Oak Ridge on the 26th. They vary. It was put in last week's Blue Night highlights, and it'll also be in Friday's Blue Night highlights, the specific times, because Forestdale and Oak Ridge do them based upon grade levels, and I believe yours tomorrow, Jeannie, is 5 to 7.
I just wanted to acknowledge Jeannie as well. Something new this year that I read about was the coffee hour with parents for sophomores, juniors, and seniors. I think that's a great idea.
Yes, so in the Castle Chronicles, and we can also post that on, it's also posted actually on social media, the guidance counselors for the next 3 Fridays in a row will be meeting with classes, so senior class, junior class parents,
Yeah.
and to talk about the year ahead, college planning or post-secondary pursuits, whatever they may be, timelines and things like that. So it's in the cafeteria, open for all parents and guardians of the class of 2025, 7:45 on this Friday, September 13th. And then the following will be the junior parents the following Friday, and the Friday after that will be the sophomore parents.
I think it's great, especially for senior parents coming in, just to be aware of all of the scholarships that are available to their kids. A lot of parents, they see or hear about the deadlines in the past, as they've already passed. So I think the earlier we can inform the parents, the better.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So is open house list is just for parents? What's,
Generally, yes.
okay.
Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn to our next regular scheduled business meeting on September 25th, 2024 at 6 p.m. right here in Sandwich Town Hall.
Have a second?
Second.
Second, Danielle, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 7-0. Thank you very much. Thank you for those in the public for attending.